Hey, this is not a piano. It sounds like it, but it's not a recording and it's not a sample. It's actually a complex synthesizer engine called physical modeling. You may already know Pianoteq is one of the best sounding piano plugins out there, but it still blows my mind that this is actually a sound synthesis engine. Well, once you read the story, it's not that surprising because it was made by a math research team on the INSA. They wanted to recreate every physical nuance you get when you play a piano. Wave propagation, hammer noise, vibration, sympathetic response, and a lot more of technical things. So the result is this super expressive piano plugin, which is actually a lot lighter than a sampled piano library plugin. And what's crazy about physical modeling is that they let you change a lot of the parameters related to the different physical properties of the instrument, letting you go even extremer with the type of sounds that you can create, making things that sound nothing like the original piano. I mean, this is the Steinway Model D. And this is what happens when I have free time. But today's video is not about pianos. It's about asking ourselves what happens when we take the modeling out of physical modeling. Enter singular. Modartt, of course the developers of Pianoteq, just started delving into the territory of synthesizers, and they did it in a very unique way. Singular is a synth that you load up inside of Pianoteq, and it looks pretty simple. But what it does is to actually take the same physical modeling engine they use to recreate pianos and other keyboards, and use it not for modeling anything real. It's what they call a synth to create imaginary timbres. The sound is still based on strings, but they sound nothing like the strings you are used to. In fact, they almost sound like the basic waveforms of a synthesizer, but not quite. Now, I must say that I love experimenting with different synthesizers, and I get this opportunity because the channel is growing, and that's all thanks to you. So if you want to help me continue growing, subscribe to the channel and give the video a like. This is the most important thing for me. So my initial approach was a bit weird because I didn't read any manual or check anything, and I thought this was going to make sounds as I'm used to, but it didn't. So then it became a sound design exploration kind of session. All the parameters that you see can alter the way these imaginary strings will produce sound. And these are almost the same parameters that you can find on the pianos and keyboards. So these imaginary strings also have their own natural harmonics and physical response to how you hit them and so on. With that in mind, even the envelope is not an envelope in the traditional synthesizer way. It's rather how you control the time of the damping of these virtual strings, as you will do in a piano. So in a way, it's still physical modeling, but with strings that sound unnatural, imaginary strings that don't exist, so they have their own physical properties, if that makes sense. For instance, the unison width is not because we have classical synthesizer unison, it's because on a piano, each key has 3 strings. At the middle, you control the harmonics of the sound. With the plugin brightness, you get closer to a sawtooth wave or closer to a sine wave. And the spectrum profile is like a spectral filter or EQ in a way. But where you can start changing the sound a lot is on the design part. I already mentioned that the envelope is not your traditional envelope, it's a damping envelope. And the same for the filter. I mean, you're not filtering everything if you go all the way to the left. You're actually making the sound go darker faster. And the slope will create a more plucky decay for that. The strike point comes directly from the piano because depending on where you hit the strings of a piano, the sound will be different. The same here. So the harmonics of a key when you press it depend on how you virtually interact with it. The other important parameter for the sound is the harmonicity. I don't quite understand how it works, but just listen to it. It changes a lot, especially combined with the strike point. Finally, we have the blooming. This is a parameter you can find on other pianos inside Pianoteq, and will create this boing kind of sound. It comes from steel pans, but they wanted to add it for other pianos to be more experimental. The inertia is the time to get that boing sound, and the energy is how hard it's going to be. Now, if you want to buy this plugin, I'm going to leave the link in the description. It's an affiliate link, but that will help me a lot. Of course, only if you want to buy it, and that way a little commission comes back to me. So you can see that it seems to have just a few parameters, but with all of these, you start creating very unique timbres that honestly I haven't heard in other synthesizers, at least not that easily. So don't expect to have a traditional synth. This is more of an experimental kind of synthesizer, and I'm all for that. So in a way, it's a nice, unique synthesizer, but in other, it blends perfectly with the other projects from Modartt that you can find inside Pianoteq. Now, there are more parameters that are related with the physical properties of pianos and keyboards, but I'm not going to go one for one, otherwise the video will be too long, but let's experiment a bit, for instance, with these action parameters. These have more to do with the damping and the key action. The interesting one is the Mallet bounce. It does what the name suggests, and in terms of what you hear is almost like a delay or a repeater, but you can also add randomness and changes in velocity. It's very nice, especially for getting even more experimental. And always when you have an instrument or a synthesizer with great effects, you can go even beyond in terms of sound design. I mean, we have all the staples like different distortions, like the fuzz on the amp, delay, flanger, phaser, chorus, and many more. And besides, we have these reverbs that I think they are based on impulse responses, or maybe some of them are algorithmic and others are impulse responses. You can even load up your own wave files for an impulse response. I find it cute that if you change the reverb, you will change the background of the piano image that you have right here at the top. By the way, as always, I made a lot of presets for Singular, so if you get it, you can download them for free if you're a patron or a channel member. Now, I must admit that I didn't thought that Pianoteq was that deep. I mean, thinking about all the pianos and keyboards, not only about Singular. Because let's rewind a little bit. Remember that you can use any of the classical regular keyboards and pianos to create super experimental things, making this a super nice physical modeling instrument / synthesizer. I'm surprised, and also I'm having a lot of fun experimenting with it. I mean, as I said, it looks pretty simple to use, but they took advantage of that physical modeling engine they built to give a super unique synthesizer that creates timbres that are difficult to recreate on other synths. But anyway, I want to know your opinions, so let me know. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time, and bye bye.